everyone. I'm going to start a series of these videos that are specifically addressing specific issues. And this first one is definitely on the subject of cancer. This is a hot subject, if you will, and has been for quite some time now. And I feel that it's very important that we have an informal discussion about cancer so you'll understand what cancer is and what it isn't. Very important because there's a lot of misinformation, I think, absolutely dropped out there just for the sake of it. I think there's a lot of misinformation, and I don't know who you could blame, whether that's important at all, whether you blame the medical profession from doing that or whatever, but there's a lot of lack of understanding of cancer. Of course, there's tremendous fear involved in the word cancer. Doesn't matter where the location is. So I think that we need a chat. I am degreed in naturopathy and biochemistry. I've spent the better part of over 40 years now involved in health programs that people have used world over for their health issues. These health programs are addressed at tissue regeneration, which can basically be said cellular regeneration, and genetic remembering of cells. That is our primary focus here. And we use the system or the process known as detoxification. During this video, you'll understand why that is essential, why it is the need of everyone diagnosed with that word, and that it's important that you understand, again, what it is, what it isn't, and what you need to do to find remedy. So let's begin this discussion taking a look at the human body. And these are some foundational issues that you must understand before you can truly understand what the word cancer or literally any disease is. And when you understand how your body's designed, you understand some very basic chemistry and physics. You'll understand that you've been lied to, that there is a hype called diseases out there, and that the medical profession uses that to foster their own financial interests and to control, basically, the World Health System. The World Health Organization would like no more. Same thing with the American Medical Association. It's that Rockefeller consciousness of world bankers, World Health Organizations, which would like to see the world population cut as much as 90%. The powers that be obviously consider the world too populated to sustain. And at the rate of population growth, this will not be a sustainable planet. And this is important for all of us to understand the essential reason why they're looking at that. And that some of what they're looking at is factual. Others is they would rather find ways to terminate humans as opposed to just being truthful and open and having discussions with each other. And that's what we need. We need a frank discussion about cancer. You know, I had a nurse ask me, because I had made a comment about the cure rate in the use of chemo and radiation is somewhere around 8%. She asked me where I got that because she's heard 60%. Others, 90%. You know, there's so much propaganda. The medical profession would love you to think that 50% of the people survive the use of chemo and radiation. And I think that is laughable. I think that you would want to see proof and evidence of that, which there, in my opinion, are none. The FDA on the Berinsky tapes did mention that basically I could round this off or surmise this by saying that 8% basically of those that enter chemo and radiation treatments end up surviving it over 5 years. That would leave 92% of the people that enter it die from it. And if it's 10%, okay, 10% of the people that enter chemo and radiation, they don't ever get cured from it, but they're in remission and they have a survival plan of so many years, 5 years, 10 years, blah, 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 blah. Those that live, the differences between a 5-year survival rate and a 10-year is considerable. Because radiation can last up to 20 years before cancer can return to those cells that were radiated. 20 years. I had a lady in here that her cells converted to cancer 26 years after radiation treatment, and her oncologist told her that it was from the radiation that these cells now became cancerous. I don't know if, maybe you could tell that, but that is a stretch of period of time. I don't know how accurate that would be. Certainly, it is guesstimated that radiation eliminates the oxygen absorptive route of a cell and keeps the glucose route open, which then fermentation of a cell exists, and blah, 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 blah. A lot of theories about that. But let's stop and look at the human body for a minute. I will tell you this, it was important to review our video on the lymphatic system. That's about the second or third video I've done on this site. I am going to do another one. I have part of a new book written called The Illusion Called Diseases. It's a title of a book series. The first one up is The Great Lymphatic System. Because if you do not understand what the lymphatic system is and how it works, you're not going to understand a thing about what medical doctors call diseases or what pain and suffering is all about. You will not understand that at all. So understanding the great lymphatic system of the human body is paramount to understanding everything from cancer to diabetes to lupus to any arthritis, any condition that you can name. So let's start looking at the human body for a minute. I will say this, you will do yourself a world of favors if you'll drop the concept of diseases. I will tell you this is a hype, this is an illusion. Doesn't matter who promotes this. You can go track this way back into the dawn of time probably. But this concept and idea of diseases, that you catch things, is insanity. Yes, we have microbial activity in and out of the human body. And yes, they can trip and trigger a healing crisis or a set of symptoms, no question. There are some gnarly parasites out there. But most of the germ theory currently is based upon Pasteur and Jenner. It was definitely Pasteur that I think killed one of his children. Also, and on his deathbed claimed he was wrong. Jenner is European, same type of philosophy, and they could be no further from the truth. Rife spent a lot of time trying to develop the Rife machine to kill pathogens, blaming pathogens as the result of cancer. And I think it's all bullcrap. You are not at the causative gate. And I want you to understand causative factors. What's the cause of this problem? Not the effect. You already know what the effect is. Be it a tumor, be it decay of tissue, be it simple pain or swelling, or a cyst or eczema. It does not matter. You must understand the body's gigantic sewer system before you can understand what's up. And once you understand the gigantic sewer system of the human body, everything will fall into place. You'll lose your fear. You'll be loaded with knowledge, and you'll be able to do something about your problems. And it is vital that you do that, in my opinion. Many people have died using fear to guide them, and you never use fear. You always use knowledge, information, and learn the appropriate issues involving cancer. So let's look at this for a minute. Taking a look at the human body, you could cut off the fat and simply say that the human body is comprised of roughly 100 trillion cells. When I went to school, I think I was taught the human body was comprised of 80,000 or 80 trillion cells. So 80 trillion, 100 trillion. Every professor in this country is a little different in their teaching. Science is far from having the truth or any piece of it. Almost, I think you can depend upon science, older science, before you can depend upon newer science. I think science has taken a trip into the cosmos and have lost some focus of basic principles of chemistry and physics. And I think you must always apply basic principles of chemistry and physics to the equation of how this giant biosphere called planet Earth and this giant laboratory called planet Earth. We don't need our own little laboratories. We have one of the biggest one ever built that we have ready access to, and where most of our knowledge needs to come from, and that is from this gigantic laboratory, biosphere, planet Earth. There you'll find all your answers to your questions, and it'll break you from intellectualism. Intellectualism, we praise that in our society, and it's been our downfall. We've praised intellectualism over spirituality, And so therefore you see the desire to kill each other. You see this the calculated control of the world by the world banking system. You see these narcissistic individuals that have no clue what life is about. These people are never happy. These people are constipated. These people want to rule others. And I find this, of course, God is not going to allow this to exist. That's just what they think. So you'll see the world changing. It is changing now. And so, vital that you gain knowledge. Human body comprised of 100 trillion cells and 2 major fluids. Outside of the human cells and the 2 major fluids, the body's comprised of some bacterium. Bacterium are the janitorial service offered up by nature. Vital, essential part of the human body is bacterium. Don't be fooled. You get a lot of your vitamins from bacterium. Bacteria is designed to consume sewage, to break down the weak. We need those atoms. So we do have fungal problems. We have fungal problems because we don't metabolize our sugars properly. And that's coming from weak adrenal glands, which are common. You can learn more about the adrenal glands and blood sugar problems in these videos. But it's enough to say that we have a lot of fungal problems in the human body because of grain eating, starch eating, and the inability to metabolize that level of sugar. We have some protozoas. Some people have worms and flukes. You can get those babies out of the human body, obviously. The bigger boys need to go. Microorganisms are our friends. You have to understand what their role is in nature. You must understand how nature creates and maintains this huge biosphere of untold amount of individual creatures, and how everything all works together. So everything survives, proliferates, but also dies. Because you have to have birth, life, and death on this in creation. You can't hog all the atoms and not allow for the overturning and the rebuilding of life constantly. You can't stop life from rebuilding. I have many gardens around where I live, and you can't stop weeds as you can't stop plants. They love life and they love to grow. And so it is with all life. Life is always in flux. Life is never static. So life is ever changing. When a biochemist thinks they can figure out the homeostasis of the human body, that's their narcissistic viewpoint coming through, because biochemists have no clue to the human body and the transmutation of chemistry in the human body. We don't have a fraction of what is going on in nature at the chemistry level and physics. Getting better, but we have a long way to go. So, vital to understand, the human body is comprised of cells and 2 major fluids. Okay, so if I'm talking about your liver, what am I talking about? An organ made of a bunch of cells, right? If I'm talking about your heart, what am I talking about? A 4-chambered organ that is basically a muscle, if you will, made of a bunch of cells. If I look at your kidneys, a bunch of cells. Your skin, a bunch of cells. Your brain, a bunch of cells. Your thyroid, a bunch of cells. Your adrenal glands, a bunch of cells. Your bones, a bunch of cells. Your skin, a bunch of cells. So here we go. The body's comprised of roughly 100 trillion cells. Some so small you can't hardly see them, and some a foot long. So there's a lot of cells that comprise the human body and its parts. Well, what's up with the 2 major fluids of the human body? What's the job? Why would there be fluids in the human body? Why the 2 fluids, and what are these 2 fluids? Well, that's simple. We know one right off, right? You cut yourself, you see one quite aptly, and that is the blood. Your blood is obviously the life force. It is the kitchen of the human body. It is how you feed your cells. You got 100 trillion little people that need to eat. Now, if I'm a cell in your liver, how do I get up and go to the kitchen?